Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
All right, welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. I'm Danny Bonin, one of your hosts.
Welcome back, guys, and I'm Scotty Bonin, one of your hosts as well, back with you.
We are the Blood Brothers.
The Blood Brothers United, back here again.
So we are here with, we're still in March, so everything Friday the 13th.
Of course.
And we're moving right through the series.
Yeah, we are just cruising through the series. There's so many.
Scotty's just going to keep repeating what I say.
Yeah, that's my job here. He always criticizes me on the show, too. He makes fun of me a lot and stuff, too. That's what brothers do, I guess. Kind of gives me a hard time.
So those of you, we are streaming live at the moment on Periscope, but we're also going to take the video and put it on YouTube. So if you want to catch us in person or watch the video of this, you can check us out on YouTube. So search for Cult Classic Horror on YouTube or the Cult Classic Horror Show, and you'll see us there. We just started keeping that up to date. So just another avenue you guys can check us out on. But, all right, yeah, let's jump right into it. I have to admit that we're sort of doing this last minute because I think the episode's due in like an hour and a half or something. I'm not sure what time it is here, but... So, yeah.
Yep, we sat through and watched the 2 movies and a little documentary action, so we just got done with doing that and freshly off doing that, and it's late here in Colorado.
Yeah, we're on Friday the 13th, part 5 and 6. So A New Beginning and Jason Lives.
Yeah, this is the New Beginning was a little controversial, but it was, I don't know, it was probably my least favorite out of all of them.
Yeah,
I think.
well, so I have a couple different thoughts on it. I think that it was the first one out of the series that was just sort of a different movie. It almost had some humor to it, some tongue in cheek because of, I don't know if they went for that, but there's some super ridiculous acting in it.
Yeah,
it was some fucking horrible acting.
I think they were going for a less campy feel, but it showed. But the acting. Oh, man, there was some horrible parts in it.
I don't know. You could argue that it was a more animated, maybe entertaining movie because of so many laughable acting moments in it. But then it didn't have the darkness to it that the first 4 did.
Yeah.
You know.
And even though this is to date as of 1985 for this part 5, there was the most body counts in this movie. So they had a lot of killings
compared to the other Jasons. So
yeah.
In the series up to that point, this had the highest body count.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. So,
not in like any movie ever.
Not in every, just the Friday the 13th. Yeah. Up until part 5 there, but
yeah.
Of course, I had more than 6 too, but 6 had that more darker feeling to it, which we'll get into here in a second too.
See, it was, but I don't know. I mean, it was different, so it caught my attention a little bit more. But it was not the same feel as 1 through 4, just because of the more comedic moments.
Yeah, and then different director, and he kind of had a new take on it and went in a different direction, and ultimately that's kind of what did it. They had it was Danny Steineman was the director. Yeah,
and I mean, we can talk about how the fans didn't really like it. I mean, this is considered to be one of the worst of the series, especially at the time, just because mainly because Jason wasn't in it, basically.
Yeah.
the character of Jason was sort of like the hockey mask was there, the murders, so his presence was there, but at the end it wasn't him who was doing the killing, it was the paramedic, you know.
It was more of the whodunit film, and obviously the paramedic was an imitation of Jason wearing the different mask with the blue marks and not the red marks.
So they had the Jason imposter, or they had the visions of the real Jason, but he was never the real killer. And so it really disappointed fans a lot that, you know, you've done this Jason movie and it was just an imposter the whole time. It wasn't even Jason. So they felt real let down.
And I think the director was trying to, because obviously Jason was dead in the last one, and he's trying to figure out a way to have the killings and kind of, you never know who it was, and I thought he maybe thought the fans might like it that it's not Jason. There was a different take, but obviously the response wasn't that way. So
they had a guy who didn't wipe his ass again. We talked about this last episode.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
Freaking older brother, the black guy in the toilet.
Demon.
Yeah, Demon. He just he gets up, doesn't wipe his ass. How could they not think about that?
This is becoming more of a trend where they're having people taking craps in outhouses and pulling their pants up before they wipe their asses. It's being like the same trend as having sex in the movies too.
Yeah,
it's like the same thing.
If you have sex, then you die, and if you don't wipe your ass after you crap, then you die.
Then you die, no matter what.
So always wipe your ass when you're done crapping, and you won't die.
Yeah, too many enchiladas for Demon. That was funny in his van. Sorry, this kind of is going to the middle of the movie here. But he had like enchiladas, pizza, egg rolls. He had like a whole grocery store in his van.
He was like a drug dealer, but of food.
Yeah.
He's like, I got enchiladas, I got pizza, I got whatever you need.
Egg rolls. So that was Reggie the Reckless. It was his brother.
So yeah, it was Danny Steinman was the director. Mm-hmm. You'll notice, so first of all, Corey Feldman is just in the beginning, sort of a little cameo appearance there. They wanted him to be in the whole movie, but he was so busy. The casting director mentioned how she'd never seen someone so freaking busy. Mm-hmm. He had just been cast in the Goonies. The Goonies. They wanted him to do the Goonies, and so he basically couldn't do the movie because of the Goonies. So they settled for just a cameo in the first scene to help him move the series along. And even then, they had to travel to his house and film that scene in his own backyard with a rain machine and everything there.
And with him and the glasses and stuff too. And which I don't know if this is true, but he later regrets for not being in it and not doing the series. Which of course the Goonies is a hit too. It was one of the best movies back then. But in interviews, he does regret not being in it. But
so he wasn't there.
And it's weird that they brought him back. They brought him back as an older Tommy Jarvis, which is his character, and this guy, I forgot what his name was, but they brought him back as kind of like a quiet, crazy. He's going to this nut house and psycho guy that doesn't talk much, and he's still wrapped up in his past of he's traumatized from killing Jason. And I mean that's obviously we didn't see that.
And you're wondering if it's him the whole time. And
exactly.
So his visions are of the real Jason with the red marked mask, and then you have the imposter Jason making the killings in the blue mask. That's how you can tell the difference. The blue marks. Some cool things. So we're getting into some notes here, but so Tom Morga was who played Jason, and I guess there was sort of a funny thing when you see Jason, when the character Tommy's looking out his window down at Jason, and he comes out from behind a tree and he's sort of standing there.
And it's all a dream, of course. But
it ends up being or a vision or a dream or whatnot. I guess when the camera's looking at Jason down below, when they actually shot that scene, the stunt coordinator was up in the room mooning him and trying to make him laugh. And so Tom Morgan, who plays Jason, says if you look real hard, you might be able to tell that he's see laughing underneath the mask,
chuckling and laughing
because he's being mooned.
Yeah, so. that was one of the funny parts, and there was some controversy. Obviously, Danny Steinman was the director. The girl playing Pam, which was Melanie
Kinnaman.
Melanie Kinnaman, she thought it was going to be more of this thing, like she was going to get picked up in a limo and she was going to get taken back to the studio. And obviously it was a low budget film, so it was all, shot outside and in like the rain and stuff, which she was fine with. But
Well, and she didn't really get along.
yeah, so she didn't
Steinman
get
either.
along with Steinman at all. In which people say he was rather coarse, rather bossy, really wanted it his way and was, cussed a lot and this and that. And so she just kind of went with it. But a lot of people didn't get along with him too. But that's, you got to be hard ass sometimes when you're a director. Like what the scene that they're having sex in the woods, and it's the girl that her last name is Voorhees.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Well, this is getting into a whole slew of.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about it a little farther down, but yeah, she was a Playboy bunny. So Danny Steinman, the director for Part 5, had done porn movies in the past. He had directed porn films, had done some of that type of work.
I guess this is getting farther ahead, but we were talking about him anyway, so I figured.
So he cast her because she was a Playboy bunny. And also, it was Voorhees.
Yeah,
It was the same girl, right? Who was the Playboy bunny.
Debussy or Dubois?
I don't remember her first name, but
It's
she was a
Debussy.
Playboy bunny, and her last name was Voorhees, and that sealed the deal for them. And so because of a lot of the fans and even some of the crew were saying that this film has sort of a sleazy feeling to it, almost a porn feeling to it. There's so many tits in this one, which I didn't complain about, obviously.
There was a lot of boobs.
So
in this
many
one.
boobs in this, and they were saying that he was casting people based on their cup size. And
Yeah, he'd have like girls come in to auditions, like, let me see your boobs too. Show me your boobs.
Yeah, of course it had to be written in there, but
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm not going to show you my boobs unless my agent says so.
So I think that came back, like you were saying, they were in the woods, and he's yelling at her.
Yeah,
During that sex scene.
during the scene that Voorhees and the guy that she's with, and obviously he was rather harsh, like, come on, fuck her, do her harder, come on. And they only knew each other for like 2 days.
Yeah, he's like, grab her pussy, fuck her harder.
Yeah.
And he's just yelling that out. All the crew member and all of them are sort of laughing, but at the same time shocked.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
But obviously he's used to this kind of thing if he's done porn films before.
Yeah.
So
And it's like the guy that was having sex with her, it's like he was like a 1 minute man because I gotta go wash up, and then he went by the creek, and obviously that's when the girl gets gouged out with the hedge clippers.
Yeah.
Which was a cool kill, but that aspect was kind of funny too.
When I'm watching this movie and even Part 6, I'm just in my head. I'm like, they're not showing any of this stuff. What the hell is wrong with them? And they show in that scene particularly, they show the hedge clippers, and you hear the noise, and then you don't see her eyes till later. And it didn't even dawn on me until we started watching documentary footage that obviously, I mean, they did film all this stuff in its entirety and wanted to show all of it, but everything was so cut down by the rating system, by the MPAA, that they couldn't show any of the stuff they filmed. Practically every death scene in these two movies was edited out. Like, they filmed straight through all of them, and they were all edited out, basically. So that's why you always see the setup. You don't actually see it happen, and then you see them afterwards. That's like the pattern.
Which is too bad, because this one they did spend a lot of time in the gore department and stuff. And as a director and, does all these special effects, it's like a slap in the face. Like, you're not going to show all the stuff we put our hard work into. But, that's just...
I got to
thinking
thinking that too while they were talking to the effects guys, and I was thinking, oh, that really must piss them off. But they got paid for it either way.
Yeah.
So I guess they got paid to do what they love, and even if it didn't end up in the final cut. So
what character was so funny was that junior guy that like almost like, I don't want to say it, like Down syndrome almost.
Yeah, well, he was fucked up. I mean, something
riding his
retarded
dirt bike
or something.
around, and then his mom, of course, was crazy. Was funny as hell.
She was my favorite character of the whole movie.
Yeah,
was the cussing mom, crazy ass cussing mom.
Will you shut the fuck up?
She was great.
You don't hear that much cussing in Friday the 13th, and she like came out and like, yes.
Yeah, well, now you do.
Yeah,
but she
shut up, you dildo. Yeah, like what the?
Well, that was another example of the ratings. Is that when they chopped his head off, He's riding the motorcycle around. They chop his head off. His head could only bounce one time. They would allow that. If it bounced more than that, then they wouldn't give it the proper rating. It was too violent or something to have his severed head bounce twice.
They were saying a lot of the junior mom scenes were improv too, especially the mom's lines. And she's like, "Well, I just cussed a lot," so she did, which was good. I think it added character to it.
Yeah.
And then that dirt bike scene, they did have like you see when he's driving it, they have the camera was actually strapped to the dirt bike.
Yeah.
And Danny Steinman said, if you crash and break that $50,000 camera, you're gonna get killed before Jason comes and kills you.
Yeah, because I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I'm gonna fucking kill you if you crash that dirt bike.
So he was nervous. Another cool thing, the movie was actually, the working title was Repetition. And they did this with the sixth one too, where they gave it a fake title because just to keep the storyline a secret, the ending a secret. They didn't want people to know they were actually working on a Friday the 13th movie. And
locations, they didn't want,
until last minute. So until people showed up on set getting ready and they see someone walking around in a Jason mask,
they're going to know.
They had no idea they were filming a Friday the 13th movie. And acquiring locations, they didn't use the Friday the 13th name. They just didn't want all the hype to go with it and press to be around. And so that's sort of cool. Like, I would think you'd want to use the name to try and get locations or whatever. But I guess at the same time, you don't want to have a crowded set with fans or things like that.
And it's funny you say that. It was Part 5 was named Repetition before they came, and then Part 6 was, of course, Aladdin Sane. And that was named after David Bowie songs. Yeah. Because Frank Mancuso Jr. was a big David Bowie fan, and he just named it after his songs. Yeah. Which is kind of funny, too.
So this also a cool, sort of interesting fact that Rob was telling me, Rob O'Neill, who we had on the show a couple episodes ago, and I think he's going to join us on our next episode. So that Tiffany Helm was the actress who played the 80s sort of rock girl who's listening to music the whole time. Apparently,
her like robot moves and stuff.
Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous. I guess people used to dance like that alone in their rooms in the 80s. I don't know.
That was one of the far-fetched acting moments too.
That was a little crazy. But I guess Tiffany Helm, the actress, is let's see if I get this right. She is the daughter of the woman who plays the mom in Nightmare on Elm Street, Patricia Arquette's mom.
Yeah.
In Nightmare on Elm Street.
Dream Warriors.
Yes. Yeah. So the mom from Dream Warriors is the actual mom of that girl, Tiffany Helm, who's in Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
so
that's
a little connection there.
Twist your mind around that, guys.
I was a little disappointed to hear that they also had to cut her original death scene, which was going to be basically a machete right up the vagina.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They showed photo stills from with her with blood all around that area and what they were going to do, and then they ended up obviously not using it because the MPAA would have fucking freaked out.
They didn't want to get a rated X rating for that one, so
I guess a machete in the vagina will give you an X rating. I don't know.
So they just moved a couple inches up and did it in the stomach.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, it's not so bad there. Not so bad there.
And stuck her to the wall.
Right through the belly button. Yep. Which, when I was like 5, I thought that was a vagina, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You think the belly button is?
It's like, do you have sex through the belly button? What is this?
Yeah, you look at your little girl cousin's belly button and be like, oh, I can see your vagina.
I just thought I always thought my mom peed out of her butt.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I think girls pee out of their butt.
I didn't really know how they peed.
You're a little kid and you go into the bathroom with your mom and her turn and then it's your turn, and I was always like,
you hear her. Well, you see her sitting down and then you just hear a tinkle.
I'm like, is she peeing out of her butt?
I wonder what's going on there.
I mean, I've peed out of my butt, but that's only after I eat like Little Juan tacos or enchiladas,
or fresh seafood.
Yeah. Oh God, Mexico.
Really fresh seafood.
There's been 2 times in Mexico, mainly one when we were down there and we had fresh seafood. I don't know what it is, but I was the worst. We walked from the resort. It was in Cabo. I probably shouldn't even say this name of the place because it's actually a really good place. But for some reason, this one time we ate there,
When you're not used to fresh seafood
I had
and
to
you eat
fucking
it,
sprint. Like that's the closest.
it's bad.
That was the only time in my life where I came to a realization.
Where you came.
I came to a realization where I paused and I was almost like it was halfway to our villa or whatever. I paused and I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna shit my pants right now." I was like, "I'm a grown man. I'm just gonna blast my pants right now." But somehow I kept it down. Oh, we had like a
Same thing happened to me too.
We had like a 2-mile walk from the restaurant back to the place, and I started the walk like power walking. I was like, "Oh boy, I will be fine," and I ended the walk like almost sprinting, but I couldn't sprint too much because then I would definitely shit myself. But yeah, I got ahead of all you guys. I was by myself, like walking through the little pathway to the
I remember
villas.
fast walking.
And then I had to pause for a second. And during that pause, I was like, "Oh, this is it. I'm shitting my pants."
Yep.
And somehow I like bent down and squeezed as hard as I could. I was like, "I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it." And I did. But then I shit uncontrollably for the next 3 days. So
Yeah, every hour.
Yeah.
Mine happened to me when I was on the beach, luckily, and I thought I felt it coming, but the ocean's right there, so I almost ran into the ocean and just dove in and just let it go. But somehow I made it to the bathroom too, and it was kind of a crowded beach, so I just like I'm gonna hold it. See, guys, when there's scenes with people crapping in movies, we tend to get on the crap stories.
Yeah, we gotta get off the shit stories.
It's always funny.
So then you'll notice at the end, what's her name? The main female, I forgot her.
Melanie, which plays
her
Pam.
real name's Melanie, but what's
Pam?
Pam. She's wearing a pink sweater, but then it keeps appearing and disappearing from her body when she's running through the woods because she had it on and then she forgot to put it back on. And it's a continuity thing, and she says she can't watch it without. It ruins the whole movie for her now.
Yeah,
she's like, that fucking pink sweater. I don't even like it.
It was the end of me. I didn't even notice the pink sweater.
I actually didn't either.
It was on and off.
Until we looked at that. I didn't notice it at all.
So if you're listening to this, Melanie Kinnaman, we did not see the pink sweater.
But we
so
outed
don't worry
you
about
to
it.
the rest of the fans.
Yeah.
Sorry. But
I think, and fans were saying it was one of the most least satisfying endings just because Jason wasn't there. And, I mean, you get the illusion of Tommy Jarvis maybe being the next Jason because he's in his nightgown and he puts the blue Jason mask on and he's there with a knife and but you never know.
It was just totally unsatisfying for the fans.
It
wasn't actually Jason. It was just some dude acting like Jason. Mm-hmm. So
Which
I can
turned
totally
out to be the
understand.
paramedic.
Yeah.
Because the paramedic's son got killed, which was Joey in the beginning.
I mean, all in all, it did successful. It was successful. It grossed $8 million on the opening weekend.
$8 million opening weekend, yeah.
So, but obviously, I think that was mainly people up on the hype wanting to come check it out, and then it made so much money because they all went to see it, and then they didn't like it.
Yeah,
so,
and they're expecting something like part 1 through 4, which Jason's in it. He's awesome Jason, and he wasn't in it, so it kind of was a letdown, which kind of made it worse for part 6 because part 5 sucked. We're not going to go see part 6.
Yeah, well, it did make it worse. We'll get into that, but it did make it worse for part 6. So,
whoa, what the hell is that?
Oh, damn!
You hear that?
My ears
Holy
are
crap.
falling off my fucking head.
My ears are oozing with blood and guts.
That's copyrighted by Rob. You can't use that.
Blood and guts.
Oh, I think it was just blood foam or something.
I think you said foaming with blood. Right, Rob? It was foaming with blood.
All right, well, that means
it
it's
is
time.
The horror.
Yeah, the horror halftime. Were you trying to make us say that together or something?
I was.
That means
we were trying to do it.
That means it's time for the horror halftime.
Halftime.
The horror
halftime. Shit.
All right,
He screwed with me.
All right, so
what are we? Let's do something cool here.
Well, last week we did. I think it was you and your Jason mask, right? So for this week, I want to sort of do something. This might be a tough one for people, but what I want to do is
tough one to chew on for you.
All through these Jason movies, they're sort of known for their special effects or the. It's like, how are they going to die? Who's working on the movie this time? How are they going to die? What's going to happen? So what I want to see, this is challenging, and probably only a few people, if any, will do it. But I'm going to see if you have like your own special effect or something. Maybe you did it before. Like, you can just shoot us a picture. You don't have to recreate it or anything. But if you have a picture of, like, some kind of aesthetic special effect you used, maybe it was on Halloween and you had, like, your throat slit and you did it all make-upped and it looked awesome.
Yeah.
Or you had, like, a knife through your head or your hand or something like that. So I want you to take that picture or take a picture of it if you're recreating it and shoot it to us on either Facebook or Instagram or both, actually. But you could do our facebook.com/Cult Classic Horror and post it on our page. And if you do that and we like it, then we'll send you some free gear.
And you might be able to get a chance to be on the show with us.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. We haven't really been doing that, but
we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see. Freak of the week.
So yeah, you
Get
be
creative,
the
guys.
horror freak of the week, win some gear, and it's why not? So
Get creative. Even if you like throw some fake blood on it and make it look really cool, come on, just you guys can get creative.
So send that in, and we'll check them out for you. Well, yeah, that concludes the horror halftime. So let's jump right back into it. We'll go right into the next movie.
Yeah, and I actually, before we go into the next movie, I wanted to bring up like one or two things of Part 5. So we see the Jason specialty a lot in Part 5, of course. The knife up through the bed bunk.
Yep.
And then, of course, throwing the guy through the window. So that was just, we see those in every Jason movie, or every Friday the 13th movie, which is always good. And, of course, the boobs and then the pooping and all that good stuff, too. But one thing that was kind of new that was in Part 5 was the leather strap around the guy's eyes, and he was turning the wood, and it kind of crushed his eyes and skull. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's not a Friday the 13th movie without the machete up through the bed or down through the bed, and then someone gets thrown through the window. So I had to put that in there too.
I guess they cut a lot out from the squishing of the eyes. They originally had a lot of blood coming out of that strap. And they made him cut some of that and then allowed some more nudity. It was like a bargaining chip. Mm-hmm. And you'll also notice, too, that when he's turning the branch behind the tree, that he's turning it clockwise, and then the next shot he's like turning it counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm. So he's like loosening it and then tightening it and then
they
loosening
just fucked up on that. So
so pay attention to that, guys, when you see this again.
So yeah, number 6, Jason Lives.
Jason Lives.
This whole movie sort of started with a letter from the bigwigs at Paramount to Frank Mancuso Jr., who has been sort of headed up all these Jason movies.
He's like the head honcho. He's the executive producer. He's the producer.
Yeah,
he's the main guy.
But they wanted him to get this movie back on track. He sort of took a back seat to number 5, and he, if you guys are watching the video, if you're watching this video, Scotty just smelled the microphone.
Yeah. Smells really good. I love the smell of new microphones. It's just the best.
Anyways, so he took sort of a backseat to number 5, said, you know what, I'm going to be executive producer. I'm going to allow these other guys to bring in who they want and sort of go how they want to go at it. And that's what happened, and the fans didn't like it. So number 6 came about. He got this letter from Paramount saying, you need to get the Jason series back on track. Mm-hmm. You need to get these movies back on track.
Since 5 was a letdown.
Yeah. So he brings in a young, new, hip director who's Tom McLaughlin.
And this was the very next year, 1986.
Yeah, all these movies are right in a row. Yep. Years, one year after another. And
we were 1 year old.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he brings in Tom McLaughlin, who is a writer-director for this movie. And you can see Tom was a big fan of like Frankenstein, the gothic horror movies.
Yeah.
And so
bring him back to life character.
Yeah, so you can see that obviously in this movie.
Yeah.
He wanted to bring Jason back to life like Frankenstein. His favorite was Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. He wanted to bring Jason back to life, and he wanted to do it with like lightning. And so obviously, they did.
Beginning where he puts the rod through his heart, and obviously you see the maggots on Jason's face. He's obviously dead. And it was a little cheesy, but it did the trick. I mean, if you love Frankenstein and the lightning struck him 4 times and resurrected him. So
it was a little cheesy when I saw it, but then it did make a badass Jason because now you have the immortal Jason who can't be killed.
Powerful Jason that can rip arms off. And
the
put
big
hands
Jason
through hearts,
exactly
through stomachs, through chests.
So I like what it created, but it was a little cheesy, a bit of an idea that the lightning strikes, and I don't know, but it was cool. I mean, it created,
and of course, the end of Part 5 was kind of ignored of the illusion of maybe Tommy Jarvis being the next Jason. So that kind of was ignored, the events in the end of part 5. And
Yeah, well, there were some continuity
Yeah.
issues because now suddenly... So, first of all, the actor who played Tommy in 5 didn't want to do 6 because he didn't want to be an actor anymore or something. He's, I don't know if I want to be an actor anymore. This is what I want to do with my time. And so he turned down the movie. And since he turned it down,
Dummy.
they didn't want to use, what's her name?
Melanie Kinnaman.
Yeah, they didn't want to use Melanie because they thought they went together as a pair, So, so if they were finding a new actor for Tommy, then they wanted to find a new actress. Actually, they didn't even use the same girl. It was just a different. They didn't use her.
Yeah.
So
And-
didn't use the character.
Well, yeah, they didn't use the same girl name, which is Pam. They used a different girl, which was Jennifer Cook, which was a blonde, and she played Megan, the sheriff's daughter.
Yep.
But yeah, it was weird. You get the new Tommy Jarvis, you get the crazy mute Tommy Jarvis in part 5 that's crazy, doesn't talk too much, and now you get the new one, the same Tommy Jarvis, but new character playing him. That he's like, he's gotten over his insecurities and he's talks a lot and is totally different character.
And they don't even talk about that. He just goes from being a psychopath into a normal functioning person.
Yeah. Which is fine.
So that was a little bit weird. Some continuity issues there. And also, they talk about in part 5 how Jason's been cremated. And now all of a sudden in 6, he's just buried. So they sort of ignored that just to keep the movie going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the guy that played Tommy Shepard, I forgot his... I don't know, the new Tommy. Yeah. I forgot his name.
The new Tommy.
I didn't write down his name, actually, is what it is. But...
Yeah.
Before this, he was in Return of the Living Dead. So this was his second horror movie. So he was, he knew the ropes a little bit. And then in the first scene, you have his sort of his partner who escaped the psycho ward as well, who played Horshack on Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yes, that's
So
right.
that's where everyone
with John Travolta.
Yeah, with Travolta. So that's where everyone knew him from. So it was sort of a cameo appearance there. But yeah, so then you had what C.J. Graham.
C.J. Graham was Jason, and
most of the time
they were going to have this guy Dan play Jason. They actually filmed him during the daytime scenes, but he wasn't big enough, and Paramount didn't like him.
Well, they said he was too fat.
Yeah,
too. He was like chubby.
Too chubby. He wasn't tall enough, but he was
wasn't
bigger on the
moving
waist.
right.
But yeah, he wasn't moving right.
Yeah.
So he was cut from the movie, and they brought in C.J. Graham.
Yeah. So then, so Jennifer Cook, you said already, plays Megan, and David Kagan plays the sheriff, who is actually Jennifer's acting coach. So that was they already knew each other. He was her coach. They were already working together.
Yeah.
And now ended up in this movie together, which is pretty cool. Then, of course, you had Tony Goldwyn.
Yes.
In the movie, who obviously got real famous from the movie Ghost and has been in other movies.
He's been in a lot of movies.
Since then.
He's almost like the Kevin Bacon Friday the 13th type. He really went on to do bigger and a lot more movies.
He wasn't available for interview. That's how you know.
Yeah, exactly.
In the documentaries, the ones that went on to be real big actors aren't in the documentaries.
And Tony Goldwyn's in that first scene when he's with Nancy McLaughlin, which is Tom McLaughlin's wife. In real life. And obviously you see Jason there. They're in the slug bug, and he's come back to life. He has that pitchfork. But what was I going to say? So she actually he gets stabbed and killed.
Yeah.
And he goes through the windshield, and the guy CJ Graham just missed her by like an inch, and it was actually real. And so she's like, till this day, she's scared for her life.
She actually almost got stabbed because they really shot that through the window. Yeah. So it was.
And what do you think after that James Bond sequence?
That was cool.
But it's like Jason, you see it through the eye. And then you get Jason slashing.
I think it was cool.
I thought that was
badass. They set it up pretty cool. They talked about how they filmed this on location. Everyone's on location. And so they had this real family atmosphere. Everyone got along real great. And even the guy playing, Jason, they were all getting along with each other. Except for the producer, who was Don Burns. He was
Don or John?
Don.
Don, yes,
He was
that's right.
nickel and diming them to hell, I guess, and wasn't letting Tom McLaughlin go anything over budget. And so Tom wanted these grand shots, wanted a crane shot here and there, and
He was on a time budget, wanted to get the film over
he'd
with.
show up and say, "Oh, we cut that, we cut this, we don't have enough time for this," and so everyone sort of hated him.
Yeah, and it was filmed in rural Georgia, so it was like it was a low budget movie still, and if it's a low budget movie and you have the equipment, you still want to get those epic shots. So everyone, and he's actually in the interview and he doesn't say much, but it's
Well, and he talked
funny.
about how he even wrote in these little clauses that he gets this and he gets that, and one thing that he wanted was this swamp cooler off of the RV that they crashed, and so he had taken it off and set it aside. He wanted that $5,000 swamp cooler or whatever.
Yeah.
So the word got around that he did that, and I guess all the crew went and got the swamp cooler and put it back on the RV, and then crashed it in that scene. And you can, if you watch the scene, the swamp cooler is the first thing that goes flying off the top.
Yeah,
and,
look really careful. You can
and
see
gets
it.
busted. And they said that everyone on set was cheering when they shot that scene because they knew that he wasn't going to get that swamp cooler anymore, and they all hated him. So
That scene was actually badass. It was like that epicness. The motorhome crashes, then he pops the door out and gets on top of the motorhome, and you're like, oh my god, there's
smokes in the
real
background.
Jason.
Yeah, and
Were
that
they
one.
saying that the driver, the guy that played that was stoinking the girl in the motorhome, he was John Travolta's nephew. Is that right?
I don't think that was true. I think the guy was just joking.
Maybe he just looks like John Travolta
because he looks like John
he does
Travolta.
look like John Travolta.
So, but yeah, they so then I guess the director Tom McLaughlin was a professional mime, and he had this mime. He was the leader of this mime, for lack of a better word, mime troupe, and they had done this professionally. They were actors.
Yeah.
And so everyone in that first paintball scene where they're in the army fatigues running around, those are all people that he worked with and were mimes with him.
Yeah.
And he wanted to use professional actors, quote unquote, to film those scenes to the beginning so they'd get done fast and they'd be ahead of schedule right at the start.
Which another scene, the triple head decapitation was
that was
edited, is cut. I mean, obviously, you see that all three of them die because of the machete slice, but you don't actually see their heads fall off or the bodies crumble to the ground. So that that's kind of a bummer that didn't get shown. Too.
Yeah, that's one where they said they put a lot of work into it and it looked really cool, and then they just cut the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the knife going through the heads and everything.
So us fans, we missed out on all those good things. Yeah. They need to do like a director's cut or like.
Oh, they probably have.
Deleted scenes.
You could probably look up some of these deleted scenes.
Yeah, but with like throughout the movie, that'd be
Another cool death was when Jason, they're in the RV and he shoves her face through the wall or into the wall and makes the imprint. And I guess the way they actually shot that was
Darcy DeMoss.
Yeah, the way they actually shot that was underwater. They put her face through this piece of plastic in the water and they shot it from below. To get that effect. So that's sort of a cool way. And you can't even tell when the scene's going on.
And they were saying the guy that played Jason, which was CJ Graham, he was like a kind and gentle guy, so they really had to do a lot of acting when he was like squeezing their head or pushing it through, the mirror there. Yeah. So
because they weren't afraid of him in real life.
Yeah, they weren't afraid of
kind guy.
Him in real life. So it was they really had to put on their acting shoes.
Yeah. The other death that they cut down a little bit was the sheriff death where he bends him backwards and you hear the bones cracking and everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and that was brutal.
It was brutal.
I love that scene.
And I guess the way they shot that is they dug a hole and someone else is head first in the hole with their legs backwards, and then obviously the guy playing the sheriff is standing in like a hole or a box, and he comes up out of it and lays back down on the guy's legs. And so it looks actually really real when they're doing it, but
you hear the crack.
But yeah, that's an easy way to cover that up. Just some other guy
and
face down in a hole.
And they were saying that they had problems with that scene too, but there was no blood or anything.
Yeah.
But and they ended up keeping most of it, but it was kind of one like, wait, we're not doing any vagina stabs or anything. No. So
it was just the brutalness of it.
Yeah, it was brutal as hell.
Then at the end they did the whole lake bit where he gets the thing around Jason's neck and gets him underneath the water. And so I guess all the above water shots were done at some murky lake in Georgia at midnight, in the middle of the night, and it was freezing cold. And but then luckily all the other shots were either at this tank in Los Angeles, or I think I heard at Tom's pool too, Tom McLaughlin's pool. They did the rudder into the neck and the blood and everything. Which is
probably a lot nicer to do it in an indoor studio and a pool than a murky lake.
Yeah, a temperature-controlled area, not this freezing cold lake in Georgia. So,
and they were saying it's the only Friday 13th with kids at the camp.
Yeah,
that everyone's being killed at.
Yeah, none of the kids die, of course, but
when I was first watching it, I was like, are these kids going to get slaughtered?
Yeah, I was surprised.
No fucking way.
I thought that first. I sort of, call me like a fucking psycho, but I sort of wanted the kids to get slaughtered.
Well,
the children.
A part of you wants it to happen because, it's Friday the 13th. You want to see Jason kill as many people as possible.
Yeah. See the children out hacking heads off left and right.
In the back of my head, I was like,
all these 10-year-olds.
It's not going to happen.
So,
there's that one blonde girl that kept waking up, and he got pretty close.
They really would have got the shitty rating then.
Yeah.
But I guess Tom McLaughlin had a whole different ending that he wrote, where in his original script, the drunk caretaker, didn't die. And at the end of the movie, you saw someone go up to Jason's grave, hand the caretaker some money, like he's paying him off extra money to take care of Jason's grave.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be Jason's father. And then it sort of ends like that. Like, what is this? Who's this guy? Yeah. Jason's father now is in the picture. But they wouldn't let him do it. Paramount didn't want him to go that route at all, because then it would take the focus off of Jason and onto Jason's dad. And then who knows where the future movies would have gone.
Exactly.
They might have strayed from the Jason franchise.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. So
they ended up
could have been different.
But yeah, and I like that approach too. I mean, what if that would have happened? That kind of would have been a cool approach. And of course, they bring back the whole thing about this being called Camp Forest Green, and it was Camp Crystal Lake and stuff. That kind of was a little confusing for me too.
They renamed it. Is what happened. Yeah. But then it supposedly was the same camp from the first movie.
Yeah, because then you see him get killed, with my fingers, quote, in the lake, and then you see the sign of Camp Crystal Lake at the bottom of the lake.
So that's what it was. But yeah, and then they had Alice Cooper write like 3 different songs for this movie too. So
the man behind the mask.
So that helped the promotion, and it was in at the time. I'm not a huge '80s music fan, but Alice Cooper rocked it.
Oh yeah, totally. And they said they needed to add more kills actually, so they added. One of the last minute kills was when the guy proposes to the girl. Yeah. With the ring and stuff, and so that kill was added because they needed a little more added kills. But yeah, this was better than 5, I thought, but it didn't do as well all time.
No, I think like we talked about, it was because people were so disappointed with 5 that they didn't want to come back and see 6.
They didn't want to come back and chance 6.
Yeah, they were just like, fuck this, we're not gonna come back and watch it. And then, but then they said as it went on to video that people watched it more and more, and it sort of brought the series back.
Yeah,
brought it like, back. Okay, we're fans now again. And I like this. Might have been one of my favorite ones.
I thought so. It was definitely one of my favorites.
I just like zombie Jason. You know, I like
just indestructible, just ripping arms off.
And they talked about how CJ, who played him, talked about how he was trying to make it almost mechanical, like the Terminator. He didn't want to make it too much like a machine, but there was this strength, this force behind him this time around. And it did. I mean, it did 19.5 million
all time
in the box office. Yeah, and it was the lowest to date of any of the Friday the 13th. Probably because of the letdown of number 5. But it finished. It was opening around the same time as Aliens, and Aliens blew it out of the water. Obviously,
I mean Aliens.
You can't. Aliens
really
is a classic. Good. Aliens is one of my favorite movies.
I think Aliens was better than Alien.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I do too. Aliens is my favorite movie of the Alien franchise.
Yes.
Yes. But Aliens is a much different movie than Alien. But
in '86, it was hard to compete with that in the
Yeah.
box office. It did get to the number 2 spot in box office for like a week or whatever, but it was the lowest grossing.
Yeah.
But like you said, the first one and this one are my favorites so far, I think, as throughout the franchises. But we'll see when the next couple come up here, guys.
Yeah, could change our minds.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that covers it for, I think. Right.
Did you want to talk about the...
No, I mean, after this is when they brought the Friday the 13th, the series, onto TV. But,
like,
I mean,
yeah,
I didn't want to talk about it specifically. It had nothing to do with Jason.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if we wanted to bring it up.
All they did was take the title, Friday the 13th, and slap it on a bunch of a horror story with new characters just for the name, to bring an audience. And although it was popular, it made a lot of money. Yeah. And it 3 seasons, went strong, and then it started dying off after that when they replaced the main character. But yeah, I don't just.
It was running the same time as the Freddy Nightmare series too.
Yeah, and I think they both sort of had a similar reception. The fans weren't. It wasn't a real thing,
Yeah.
So the fans didn't really. There's probably a lot of people who liked it, but not necessarily the hardcore Friday the 13th fans.
And with having the same name and no Jason, it's
sort of a ripoff.
Fizzled out. Yeah, I feel it ripped off. Yeah. So stick core with these movies here. Yeah. That's for sure. But wrapped up 5 and 6 right there.
Yeah, it was a good time. So we'll continue on. We have 2 more episodes left of Jason, and we're going to try and fit in what we can. We won't cover every movie with Jason in it. We're debating on the last one.
We have 7 and 8 coming up.
Yeah, we're talking about what do we do? Jason Goes to Hell? Do we do Freddy vs. Jason? Or there's Jason 2009? There's Jason X. It's like,
There's a lot. There's a lot, guys.
Which one should we sneak in there?
And we're mid-March here, so we got only 2 weeks left in March. So it's going
to cover.
Crunch time, guys.
Yeah. So we got to move on to the next topic in April so that you guys don't get too bored with us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Believe it or not, maybe we might have fans that don't like Friday the 13th and want to hear something else. I don't know. I don't know who they are, but...
Yeah, I mean, it is a cult classic, but we got to move on at some point. Yeah. And, watching, we just did the Freddy series and the Friday the 13th now. Yeah. It gives me more... I'm loving these movies, just watching them, so it gets me more of a fan, and I hope you guys are loving it too.
Let us know. I mean, that's always up for, let us know that, we're trying to do this month-long topic because we don't want to dwell on something for too long in case people don't like a certain movie series or a topic because we want to move on to something else. But, if you have suggestions for us, throw into them on Facebook or fill out our contact form on the website at cultclassichorror.com and let us know if you do like it that way, if you're like, oh man, no, you should really just finish out the Friday the 13th, even if you have to take up all of April too, then that's fine. Let us know. Or if you're like, no, the month is good, I'm tired of hearing about Jason, let's move on. Then we like to hear that too. So give us your feedback if you would. And another thing is if you would give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, we'd love you guys forever. We're keeping YouTube up to date now. We're at cultclassichorror.com.
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So check us out, you guys.
Yeah, we're here for you guys. So we're fans just like you. So we would love your feedback. Just let us know, and we are here to please and scare. And we're the Blood Brothers. We're here for everything.
So I think that'll wrap us up. Thanks for joining us on the episode this week, and make sure to join us next Wednesday when the new episode comes out.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
Don't you blame the movies? Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.